Introducing the iPad into the flight deck creates the need for new abnormal procedures. A professional pilot is always prepared, right? Here are the procedures we use when we encounter the following iPad abnormalities: when the screen goes dark, an app becomes unresponsive, a low or dead battery, or when the unit overheats. So what happens if your screen goes dark? First off, you need to know how to quickly change the brightness on the iPad. The fastest way to access the brightness setting is to double tap on the home button and then slide your finger from left to right to reveal the slider. Now you can turn the brightness all the way up. Most apps do have a brightness control. They accomplish this by not actually darkening the screen, but by graphically altering the picture with shades of gray. This technique is quite effective. In ForeFlight, there are two ways to dim the screen. Go to the map screen and then tap on the cog icon in the upper left. Here you can control the brightness of the display. Alternatively, you can also dim the screen through the settings. Tap on More on the far right, then tap on Settings, and you can slide the brightness control. If you happen to turn it too dark and cannot see the screen enough to reset it, you can always access the ForeFlight brightness settings by going to System Settings, locating ForeFlight, and then change the brightness slider there. Now, when you return to ForeFlight, the brightness settings are restored. Now let's take a look at Jeppesen FD. From anywhere within the app, you can tap on the sunshine icon to set the brightness of the app. Again, if you set it too dark, you can always reset it by going to the System Settings, locate JeppFD, and then set Restore Brightness to be on. Now, when you go back to JeppFD, you can see the brightness has been restored. Similarly, Flight Guide IEFB also has a sunshine icon that allows you to control the brightness from within the app. But not all applications have brightness recovery modes. For example, in Flight Guide IEFB, there are no settings in the system settings. You can only adjust the brightness from within the app. This is exactly why we highly recommend you take some time to get fluent in the apps you'll be using. This is just one example, but you should always be able to locate the brightness slider when the app is fully dimmed. Another reason you may be dealing with a dark screen in the flight deck is if you're wearing polarized sunglasses. Be forewarned now, polarized sunglasses will turn your iPad completely dark in the portrait orientation, so be sure to use sunglasses without polarization when using the iPad on the flight deck. So what happens if your app becomes completely unresponsive? To force close an app, simply double tap the home button to reveal the recently used apps bar. Tap and hold on any of the icons until they start to jiggle. Tap on the red minus sign to close the app manually. Then tap on the home button to stop the icons from jiggling. If you find that you're unable to force quit an app, or if after relaunching the app it's still not responsive, the next step is power cycling the iPad. To power off the iPad, hold down the power button continuously until you see the power off slider, then slide the power off. To turn it back on, press the power button to turn on the device. As a last resort, you can reset the iPad. You do this by holding both the home and power buttons simultaneously until you see the white Apple logo. This takes about 10 seconds. Once you see the logo, you can release the buttons and the iPad will reboot automatically.
To do a hard reset, I'm going to hold down the on-off sleep-wake button at the same time that I hold the home button down. So I push them together, holding them down, and I'm waiting till I get the Apple logo. Once I see the Apple logo, there it is, I let go. Now you've done the hard reset.
Uh-oh, you completely forgot to charge the iPad last night before your flight this morning. So what do you do if you've got a low or dead battery? If you have external power in the airplane, you can use a cigarette lighter adapter to provide power to the iPad. Alternatively, you can purchase commercially available external battery packs to help charge the iPad. If you don't have any access to any of that, then you'll need to revert to backup charts. This iPad is now in-op. Okay folks, what's wrong with this picture? Can you see what might be amiss? Not only is this iPad not secured, but it's also sitting in the sun and it's likely to get hot. I did just this thing while flying the TBM. During several en route hours, I had left the iPad on the glare shield. When I pulled it down to brief my approach plate for the Stockton Bay Area, lo and behold, I was greeted with this. iPads that overheat will give you this lovely warning. There are a few things you can do to try and shorten the cool time down on the unit. Remove it from the sun and store it in a shadier location. Remove any and all cases or coverings that could be insulating the back of the iPad because the iPad cools through the back of the unit. Put the iPad in front of the aircraft vents or AC to blow cold air onto the back to help it cool down. And folks, please don't hold it outside the window of the aircraft. And if all else fails, use a backup while your iPad cools down. So those are some abnormal procedures for the iPad. Remember, the pro pilot is always prepared for the unexpected.